Welcome to the Indie KidLit podcast. Join Marti Dumas and Elena Page on their quest to help children's and middle grade authors find the right audience and sell more books.
Welcome to the Indie KidLit podcast. Thank you for joining us once again. I'm Elena Page.
And I'm Marti Dumas, and today we are joined by Crystal Swain-Bates. We're really excited to have her. Crystal Swain-Bates is an author and the owner of Goldest Carrot Publishing, a boutique publisher that aims to fill the diversity gap in traditional publishing by providing readers with high-quality books featuring characters of African descent. Crystal's children's books include Big Hair, Don't Care, which is one of the best titles ever, and I think I saw was translated into French, if I'm not mistaken. Naturally Me, Super Mommy, The Colorful Adventures of Zoe and Star, The Colorful Adventures of Cody and Jay, and the natural hair-inspired coloring book, Color My Fro. Her latest are companion picture books called I'm a Big Brother and I'm a Big Sister, designed to help little ones get excited about welcoming a new member to the family. And she's got oodles of other books that she will probably mention to us over the course of the interview. So welcome, Crystal.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Okay, and can we just take a minute to make the people who are not watching on the YouTube channel jealous of that view? Say something so that you can be the main person on camera.
Okay, so yeah, I live in Atlanta and I have a really gorgeous, pretty much, walls full of windows here with the view of downtown. So it's pretty nice, yeah. I will admit.
Yeah, it's looking pretty fly. Like I'm feeling a little, I don't usually have any Atlanta jealousy. I'm not going to lie to you, but that view is pretty fly. So
yeah, I might at the end, I might just, show you the highway, the traffic, the view.
You're like, and then you can feel a little less.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. So very cool.
And for those of you watching, you've also probably noticed that Marti has big hair, don't care today. Sorry, I could not help but mention it.
Totally could have helped, but that's fine.
Looking stunning.
Fine. This is what happens for me when you leave out with a twist out in Louisiana in the morning. In the evening, you come home and it is no longer a twist out, and that's fine.
Perfect. It's perfect for Crystal to be on the show.
Hair, don't care. Yeah. It is perfect. I've got my big hair in a ponytail.
So tell us a bit about your journey. Like, how was that? The first book, in the sense that did you just suddenly have a great idea and then it catapulted you into writing more? Or, tell us your journey.
Well, I think it's really weird because you don't typically meet a little girl who tells you, and you ask every little kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, how often do you actually hear somebody say, I want to be a writer? Nobody says that. But I actually have always wanted to write. I've always wanted to be an author. I loved reading growing up, and that really influenced me later on, now that I'm actually living out my dream. I went to college for other things. I have degrees in international affairs, which have nothing to do with actually writing and publishing books. One summer in between undergrad and grad school, I started working on a book. I wrote a book called Super Mommy, and I was working on it for my mom. This was going to be my very first published book. I went on Craigslist. Okay, do not do this. I went on Craigslist to find an illustrator for like $100. And when I tell you that he gave me a $100 worth of illustrations, that's what I got. It was so horrible. So needless to say, I was pretty sad, and, I wasted my money, and, college student, that was it for me. Fast forward probably 7 years later when I actually published that book. But I've always wanted to write, and there was a point in time when I said, you know what, it's time for me to leave my job and just go ahead and do this. This is what I want to do. So I told myself the year before I started publishing, I said, okay, I'm going to resign. I'm going to move home to Atlanta, and I'm going to write and publish 6 children's books. So I like to set my goals really high. That way, oh, maybe I had no idea I would actually do 6. I actually did 6 that year. But I felt like, oh, maybe I'll just do 2. That would be awesome. And I actually did publish 6. But basically how I ended up writing children's books is character, and it was a Black woman that was a doctor. And when I say cartoon character, I mean like this was stock photography. It was a stock image of a Black woman, a dark-skinned Black woman. She was gorgeous. She had her hair in a natural style, and she had the stethoscope and she was a doctor. And I could not stop staring at this picture. And I was like, wait a minute, why am I obsessed with looking at this? And it finally hit me, and I realized that it was because you just don't really see that. I was not used to seeing that. And I said, well, wait a minute, if I'm not used to seeing this as a grown adult woman, what is on the market for children? So I started doing my research, and that was when I realized that we have a serious problem. We have a serious problem on our hands. And because I love to write, and my children's book, Super Mommy, that I still had not published, it was a children's book to begin with. But for me, it was more of, to honor my mother rather than a recognition of the lack of Black children's books on the market. So it wasn't until that point in time that I realized that there were so few. And I just got to work. I started working on it because, sometimes if you recognize a problem, you can be the problem solver. There's no point in me doing petitions, writing to people, protesting. No, I mean, if there are no Black children's books on the market and I love to write and I can write Black children's books, then here we go. And that was the start of my journey.
I love that you filled the gap, like you were problem solving, like even in terms of creating your business, you didn't just say, well, you did initially, I'm just going to write a book, but then you really targeted your business. Do you think that's part of why you've had so much success, because you started off looking at it from that business perspective? I
think, well, absolutely. Because I feel like sometimes you have authors who want to write for every single person on earth.
Thank you.
And I know that
thank you. Yeah.
We would love to have as many readers as possible, but you cannot market to everyone. So having my niche definitely made it a lot easier, I would say, for me to reach, the demographic, for me to reach my audience of readers. And I did a lot of things at the very beginning that I think all put together really helped me, really catapulted my books and got them in the homes of a lot of people that might not have seen them otherwise, especially working on, an author's shoestring.
Yeah. So we're not going to gloss over that part, Crystal.
Exactly. Thank you for picking that up, Marti.
Yeah. That's why you're here, dude. So when you say there's a lot of things that I did, what are some of the, let's break it down for us. What are some of the things you did?
Okay, hold on. Don't judge me, but I need to plug my phone in.
No judgment.
But you get to just walk around with me. Hold on.
Let's do it.
She's showing off the view. You know that, don't you?
I know, right? Live in blank high-rise Atlanta condos or whatever. Like, it's cool.
All right. Since I'm up, let's see if you can see. I don't know if you can see, but this is kind of, no, you can't see because there's a glare. But just know that I've got
your fab kitchen right there. It looks good though. It's right there.
Oh gosh. Okay, I am getting plugged in and ready to go. So what did I do? Well, first of all, I have to definitely make sure I throw this out here like at the very beginning that I definitely would not be where I am without my mom. My mom, she died a couple of years ago, and she actually was my biggest fan and my number one supporter. And she was the person that marketed my books before I ever would tell anybody that I had a book. Everywhere we went, any store we went in, she would tell people, oh, my daughter's an author. Here are her books, here are her cards. So she was, she suited my horn before I ever felt confident and comfortable enough to do so myself. So I have to start off with that. But the first things I did when I started publishing my books, one, I did focus on first good books. I don't think you can really gloss over the fact that high quality and something that kids actually will like. So that was number one. I would say number two was I got out there. I mean, I still do it, but I'm not doing it as much as I was initially. Like when I tell you that my car trunk, my mom's Explorer, fully loaded, I was going to all the shows. Any opportunity I had to go and set up a table somewhere where people could walk by and see my books, because I always felt like if you see my books, you're going to love them. Like, let your kid flip through this. Oh, you want this book. I know you do. So, a lot of it was just me getting out and meeting people, and people love authors. And guess what? I'm a Black author, a fairly young, if I may say so myself, Black author.
Stunningly beautiful, young,
gorgeous, right?
Thank you. And that's something that draws in, even more people. So I would definitely say getting out and doing the shows, meeting people was very helpful. I did the Sweet Auburn Festival here every single year, which is outdoors. Okay. It's in the summertime in Atlanta when it's like 90 degrees. And again, it's outdoors. So I've been rained on. Books and water don't match. They don't mix at all. No. Wind and books don't mix, but I've been out there. Okay. So, there was nothing about this that was easy. But I will say my mom, literally, we would see a bookstore. We would pull over and go in the bookstore. And I just let her handle my business. I called her my momager. She went in and talked to the store owners.
I love that. The momager. That is awesome. Mm-hmm. I love that you've got the confidence, like what it sounds like is your mother gave you that confidence to really own that you were an author, and gave you a little push out there, and then you took over and ran with it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's exactly what happened. And, if you have a book, I mean, you're the author, you're the person, you're your brand. And so it's not just your book by itself, it's you as a person. And sometimes people, if they like you, they want to support whatever you're doing. So that was why it was so important for me to be out there, because I had people that were like, I don't have kids, but I will find a little brown girl or boy to give this book to because I love what you're doing. So
that's amazing. And for me, that's a huge takeaway. The you are your brand. That's really big, because absolutely. Like people will, that's like the definition of super fan almost, right? That people will support you no matter what. And they're gonna tell other people about you because you, right? And not necessarily just the book. So that's great. That's really cool. So when did you start to see, so you and your mom were driving around, unable to finish your errands on any given day, because if there was a bookstore you had to pull over, right, and go in, and then your mom had to make sure that your book was stocked in there, which is amazing, right? So you have a wonderful sales and distribution team going there, a team of your mom. When did things start to move on their own, or have they started to move on their own? Like, do you still hustle like that?
I don't. Part of it, it's not even me. It is me. I will say a lot of it was, when I lost my mom, that made it really hard for me that was our thing, that was our thing. And she would always have the car fully loaded. So it made it really hard for me to still do the events without her. So I will honestly say that contributed to my kind of falling back on doing some of those things. I do have an awesome little sister who filled in for my mom because she knew that I needed that. So she does events with me. And I have a really strong support system of friends who come out and help me as well. But I would say that things started moving on their own. Within 1 year, really within 1 year. And it's because Big Hair Don't Care really took off. There are a few people who said that I actually coined that phrase. I don't know that I did, but I did go back and look, and I didn't really see people saying that before I wrote this book.
Yeah, you own it.
But that book really took off. And when you have a book, that is on a specific topic, or that has a theme. And of course, this theme was, self-esteem in young girls, being confident in yourself for the way you look, your hair. And that's kind of a really big thing, especially a couple of years ago when you didn't really have as many books on the subject. You don't have a lot, but right now, but there were very few back then. What happened was my book ended up making a lot of lists. Top 10 books for Black girls. Top 10 books to boost self-esteem. My Big Hair Don't Care is all over the place and all over the blogs. And it was in Essence Magazine, just Huffington Post, in lists like that. So I feel like that really helped skyrocket the visibility of my book. And when you start to see your book, when other people see your book on these lists, they feel like they need to get that book. And so libraries began stocking the book. I just got a lot of traction after that. So at this point, a lot of it is just on autopilot at this point. I could really say I don't have to do as much. And I think that's the goal. You work really hard and you hustle at the beginning so that you can finally, start to build a name for yourself and start to get some fans, because those fans, kids, they're gonna still need these books. And people are having more kids. So I have a lot of people that buy every single book that I write. And they tell me this, every book, anytime you come out with a new book, let me know I'm getting it. So,
that's amazing. I want to pause you because you said some really cool things, and I want to but they're normal to you, so you just kind of were just saying your life, right? So I want to slow it down a little bit because there was a lot in what you were saying. So one of the things that you were saying is that your book has a theme, right? That it's self-esteem is the theme of the book. But I noticed and probably maybe like a year ago, when I first saw Big Hair Don't Care, I think one of the things that stuck out to me most, besides the adorable cover art on the book, was actually the product description, because I think that yours was one of the first product descriptions, and maybe still today, one of the only product descriptions for children's books that actually talked about the benefits to families and the benefits to children rather than what the story was about. And then you said that because people could really easily identify the theme, they knew what list to add it to. And so it started coming up on lists, which sounds like marketing genius. Was that intentional, or was that like a happy accident?
It's not intentional. I will say that accident, but it's something that is a part of my strategy now. And it's also something that I do coach other authors, and it's something that I tell them. Your book has a theme, and it's something that can fit on a list. If it's so broad that it can't fit on a list, then you might need to think about it and, hone in on what that actual book is about.
Yeah. All right, very cool. And you coach those same authors to include that right in their product descriptions like you have it for yours?
Well, actually, I coach them from the beginning. Before I even accept them as a client, I coach them from the beginning. And if they present an idea to me, I tell them this. I give them really, if I can say so myself, I give them really strong advice, but it's based on my own personal experience. And so far it's worked out pretty well. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot with publishing all the books that I have and trying out a lot of different things. Some things just did not work.
Give us an example. What's something that did not work?
Well, for sure, you will very rarely see me on my personal social media, like my personal Facebook page, for example. Hey, y'all, buy my book. Here's the link. I don't do that. Okay, because people that are following me, that are my friends and family, that's not my audience, so I don't spam my personal timeline. I see a lot of other people do that. In fact, I tend to not do that a lot. Typically, if I'm online, I'm in a forum or I'm on a Facebook page or in a group, I like to provide value. say, give them some advice about something, they ask, or, then I can kind of drop my link, but I don't do things in a very salesy way. And I think that turns people off. I feel like it turns people off. So I'm very careful about how I do my book marketing, especially if it's not on just a sales page, So that's something that I don't do anymore. Oh, another thing I don't do is I don't take any offense if people don't have my books. This is more on the personal side, but man, I know people struggle with publishing a book, and then you feel some kind of way because your cousin and your grandma and your friends didn't buy your book. The way you're upset. So that's not I've never, for me, and I will say my first book, I was kind of like looking at people, giving people the side eye, like, really, you're not gonna buy your child my book? Like, you have a kid and you're not gonna get my book. But I got over that pretty quickly. But I do know that there are a lot of other people, a lot of authors who do basically rely on friends and family to fund, to be the main purchasers of their books. And that's not what you need to be relying on. Something else I don't do, almost obsess over my reviews. And when I say that, I mean, I would always check, oh, I got a new review. Let me see what it says. And one thing I don't do with reviews, I've never, tried to pay anybody for reviews or give books away for reviews or whatever. If you want to leave a review, that's awesome. So I feel pretty about my ratings on Amazon because I feel like they truly reflect what parents think. You're not going to get 5-star reviews or 4-star reviews. There's always going to be somebody that doesn't like your book. And I will never forget, my mom sees a review that somebody wrote. Oh, she calls me up, Crystal. Somebody, I don't know who this, whatever her username was, she left a crazy review. I don't know what's wrong with her or why she doesn't like this book. I'm about to write back. And I said, don't you do that? Don't you do that. So I've never, I don't reply to reviews. If somebody doesn't like it, I don't say anything to them. And I see other people doing that. And I'm like, no, because, and what's funny, at least to me, is that I've had in the, negative reviews that I've received, other readers will actually reply to those reviews and say, oh, well, actually, I found it to be XYZ. Awesome. That means I didn't have to say anything. I didn't have to look crazy out there replying to people's reviews. And yeah, so the review thing, I don't stress about it. I hardly look at them. So that's one thing that I don't do anymore. And then back to the marketing aspect, I'm very careful about what shows I do. I get a lot of people that send me messages asking me, I hope none of them are watching, but sorry.
Okay, try to filter it.
Yeah, well, I get a lot of people that ask me to come and do things. Hey, can you come, come set up your book. I'm having the Collard Green Festival. This is a real thing, but I'm not speaking specifically about this. But they did ask me, but whatever. They did ask me, real talk. I'm at the Collard Green Festival. Can you come and set up your book? One, it's never free. I'm like, if you really like my book so much and like me so much, why aren't you inviting me to come do this for free? Number one, you still want me to pay. And then two, I don't like to do events because I'm not at the bottom, because I'm not starting out from scratch anymore. I don't want to go to events where there are only 25 people.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not worth my time. And I had to make the mistakes to learn to how to value my time and how to make the decisions about what festivals are best to go to, what shows, what events, what's the best price to pay. I think that for me, that was big because, as authors, like our time is better. Sometimes it's best spent not doing these events and just working on doing writing or doing marketing, strategic marketing from home.
So part of me that hates being at events because I don't like being in crowds or having to randomly talk to strangers all day. wants to like hear you really strongly. A thing that I say with people a lot of times when they are asking me or wanting to support me and feeling like the best way to support me is to buy books directly from me is I say, well, when you buy it from me, it does not tickle any algorithm. It doesn't up my book scan numbers. It doesn't like tickle the Amazon algorithm. Like it doesn't do any of those things. But then I know that also secretly I don't really want to do events. So then I always wonder, like, am I saying that because I'm justifying the thing that I don't want to do, or because it's actually a smart thing to say? I'm not sure. So then when you are making that same decision about like whether or not it's worth your time to go out, like what are the actual things that you're looking for when you're deciding, okay, no, this one, I am going to go and set up at this one? What are the things you're looking for?
One, I look at just what is it? You know, if it's just a festival, I tend to not do a lot of festivals. I only do huge festivals. Like I mentioned, the Sweet Auburn Fest. I think it's the largest festival in the Southeast. I do very large events. If I do an expo, it's an expo that I know has my demographic and that will have of over 3,000 people. However, Black Girls Read approached me and their nonprofit organization at Georgia State. And they approached me to come in for, they called it the African American Read-In. And for me, I knew I was going to that as long as my schedule was clear, because that was an opportunity for me to sit in a small room, do a reading, talk to young girls. And that's the kind of thing that's different to me than like just going to a festival to set up a table. So it just kind of depends on what the event is, you know, who is it for, who will be there. And that's how I decide.
Right. Okay. So let me, because I was taking notes, so I want to see. Sometimes I translate things in my notes and I didn't translate it quite correctly. So what I have written down is that you go to things that meet your mission, right? So things that the Black Girls Read, it sounds like it's inside of your core mission. So then you go to those kinds of things. You go to expos if they have 3,000 or more people and the target audience for the expo is inside of your target demographic. And then you said you go to festivals if they're huge. What's huge? What's that mean?
Well, I mean, this festival, like I said, I want to say their numbers are in the tens of thousands.
Okay.
Over the course of the weekend. Yes. So yes,
okay.
you got it. Things that I'm passionate about. Yeah.
All right, cool. So then tens of thousands for you means that there'll be enough foot traffic that it will have been worth your time to be there. Okay. All right. Very cool. Are there any other things that I missed or something that I mistranslated on that list?
I would say other things. I don't really do outdoor stuff anymore. I mean, I don't even do that festival anymore. It's very hard being out in the elements. And one year it just rained so much and it was so windy. So now there are some events that I just don't do them because they're outside. So, you know, that's one thing that there are events that I not regret not doing, but that I wish I would go to, but it's just a lot of work at this point to be lugging. And also because I have so many books, that makes it even harder. I have 12 books, I think. I have 12 books. And I have to take a sufficient amount of books. So I would typically take about 80 to 100 of each title out there. It's a lot of books. I have to take that many because say that again?
I said, that's a lot of books to carry. That's fair.
Yeah, it's a lot. So I have to have suitcases and you have to take your table and a tent. And yeah, for me at this point, I would think very carefully about doing another outdoor event.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the benefits, do you think, of doing the expos and events?
So many.
Are there been?
So
yeah,
many.
I don't want to put words in your mouth because I want to know what you want to say. So what's in so many?
There are so many benefits. I mean, a lot of the connections that I've made. Sometimes, you know, they say, you know, sometimes it's all about being in the right place at the right time. Sure. So, for example, what's going on my phone? Okay, so for example, two of my books were on two television shows. The Game, which came on BET, and then Being Mary Jane, which was another BET show with Gabrielle Union. So two of my books were used as props for those shows. How did they end up on those shows? Because I was at the Sweet Auburn Festival and the prop master was there, specifically looking for books, okay? She actually had a book that she planned to use. She couldn't get in touch with the publisher. Anyway, it came down to her finding my books, loving them, and asking me, if I would do the paperwork for them to be on the show. That's it. I wish I had a sexier story,
No, that's perfect. No, that is that's huge, right? So it's like, it's not just making connections, but also like being, you had it was a big fair. It was a big festival, so that you had a lot of opportunity to be able to make connections, because there were more that were going to be there because it was big. That seems good. All right, what else you got? What are the other benefits? I'm writing them down.
That was one. Two, store owners. I've met store owners. One of my stores is in LA. She met me at an expo that I did, and she says that she goes to these expos every single year looking for products to sell in her store. Okay. So that was years ago. She's still one of the stores that my books are in. Another thing, you get a social media boost because you got all these people that are taking pictures of you and they're posting these pictures because they're like, oh, I got a picture with this author, like they're excited about that. Because we have to keep in mind that, for us, we're just like, oh, we're regular people, we just write. But for other people, they're like really fascinated. Just don't mind me. I'm just moving over to a better charger. A better wall outlet. I'm just gonna sit on the floor. Shame.
There is no shame. You are among family.
So shameful. So I was gonna do this from my computer. All right. So what was I saying? The photos and things. Yeah, the pictures. So there are ways that you can do special. Hey, get $1 off my book if you post a picture for $1 off coupon or something like that. Or you don't have to do anything. Just let people know that they can take pictures with you. I even had a sign one time that I had a doll, like a cardboard cut out of my main character. And the sign said, take a picture with Lola. And everybody was coming up to me because they thought I was Lola and they didn't realize that was my character. But when you tell people they can take a picture with you, they want to take a picture with you. So that's a benefit. And there we go. Now she's charging. This interview is gonna be so short. If my phone dies, I'll call you back. And then I would definitely say that just when you meet people in person, you're able to get that feedback. You're able to see, especially if you write children's books, but for no matter what it is that you write, you're able to get feedback and know if your title, if your cover, if it's captivating, if it pulls people in, are your price points okay? Because you'll hear people say, oh, I'm not going to spend $8 for a coloring book. You'll hear people say what they will and won't do. Trust me. But opportunity to meet people, build your email list. I love doing expos. I really do. My next one is in April.
All right, but that's a nice little break from now because we are recording in November. So then you got a nice little break between now and then. So you mentioned just now, and I think I just cut Elena off. I'm just squeezing my one more question, and then you'll go next. Okay. So you mentioned in there about pricing, people like passing and giving like feedback being one of the areas of feedback. How do you decide the pricing for your books?
So I use a little formula that is, I look at the manufacturing cost of the book plus shipping, and then I multiply that by 2.5, and I multiply it by 3. And I typically choose something in the middle. Mm-hmm. That leaves enough room, that leaves enough money for me to sell my book wholesale and give a 40% discount. And yeah, that usually works. That usually
Okay,
works.
cool.
Do that maths again for me, because I'm slow on maths. So what is it?
I take the I take the manufacturing cost,
Right.
the cost to print the book,
Gotcha.
plus the cost to ship that individual book,
Okay.
and then I multiply it by 2.5,
Mm-hmm.
and I multiply it by 3, and then I choose a price that's within that price range.
Okay.
So somewhere between 2.5 and 3 times the actual cost of getting and moving the product. Do you do print runs, Crystal?
It depends. If I have an order from Hallmark, I'll order a significant amount of books. If I don't, I only do them if I have a really, really big event.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I haven't found it to be as cost saving as you would think it would be. And I don't like to have money just sitting around. You know what I mean? Like, because I have so many books, I don't like to have 5,000 books in inventory, because that's money that's sitting, and I can use that money for other things, from marketing to, more illustrators or whatever it is that I need.
Yeah, absolutely. So so you don't tend to warehouse books. You're saying you will do an offset print run if you have a large event, or if you know that you have a large order, like from Hallmark or
Exactly.
thing. Okay, very cool. And when you are, does that mean that for the most part, when people are buying your books online, that they are getting a print on demand version of the books?
Well, it depends on where they order from. If they're ordering from my store, which is browngirlsclub.com, then that book is coming from whatever I have in inventory. So I do keep inventory, but I don't have thousands and thousands of books. I keep enough on hand that I can fulfill orders very easily and quickly. And I just replenish that stock.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So I've been cutting off Elena for a while, so I'm going to let her ease back in.
No, you haven't. You've been fine. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. The main sort of ways that you've built everything up to be so fabulous so far has been writing a book for a very specific audience with a very clear theme. Number one. Did I get that one right?
Yes.
Good. Or clear themes, because you have lots of books. And then number two, mostly getting out there in person and doing festivals and events. Is there anything else? Like, is there an online strategy? Like, do you do schools, or has so far those two things been enough to really propel the rest?
I do a lot of things, more things than we could ever discuss on this, especially with my 1% I've got going on.
Oh, no.
But no, I do other things. So social, I will say that I like to think of myself. I have no statistics to prove that this is true. I like to think that I'm one of the most accessible authors out there. All right, again, that's no shade to any other authors, but I do take pride in people being able to reach me. So I get emails from people. I am on social media. I have my Facebook page, an author page on Facebook, which is under author Crystal Swain-Bates. I have my Instagram page. And amazingly, people will send me pictures on Instagram. They'll tag me. A lot of the pictures, people just tag me in these pictures and I just repost them. People reach out to me and I just write them back. So that's also a strategy, because I think that, it makes me, again, it's part of the branding. It makes me a person that, again, people want to like you, and it's nice when people can have contact with you. I've had a woman that sent me a video of her daughter reading my book. She just sent me this video, and it was the cutest thing. I had another parent. It's amazing. I had a parent send me, her daughter had interview questions. She wanted to write a book report about me. And she sent me interview questions, and I wrote her back with the answers to the questions. So for me, I think that having that personal connection with people, I'm never too busy. You know, now I get foolishness in my inbox too. A lot of people asking me to donate books. Okay, that sounds horrible. Not to say that that's foolishness, but I get a lot of people asking for free stuff. You be like, do y'all get that? Somebody tell me. It's not just me, right?
Almost daily. Almost
okay, cool.
daily. I get a request for free books for company, for church, for for almost every day.
Okay, cool. Not just me. All right. I get a lot of those. I prefer to get things from parents telling me that their daughter or son love the books and things like that, you know. Let's see. You were asking, we're still talking about strategies. Online strategies. Y'all want to know about the online stuff. This is a big one. This
Give it to us.
So, you know, I mentioned that I have an online store called Brown Girls Club. I'm giving y'all all my secrets right now. I have an online store called Brown Girls Club.
You have to remember that we are family. Okay.
Okay. So, you know, I feel like you should never just have a book. All right. If you have a book, you need to have a t-shirt to go with that book. If you have a book, you need to have a mug or a planner or a notebook or anything else that you can have that you can sell along with that product, a doll. So I started Brown Girls Club basically because parents were writing me, asking me, hey, my daughter loves your books. She would love a t-shirt. And first I kind of shrugged it off like, I don't want to have a t-shirt store. Like, I don't want to do that. But then I thought about it and I was like, wait a minute, that's just another income stream. I need to do this. So I was able to take the characters from my books and put them on t-shirts. I didn't even have them professionally done. I did it myself. And now that's a store. Okay, that's a store that is on and popping, especially around Christmas time every year. So I always encourage other authors, especially authors. It's easier if you have children's books because then you can just take your character and just pop it on the front of a shirt. You don't even need words. And you can sell that shirt to people because when kids love the book, they want other products that have that. And especially because there are so few for Black children. So that's another gap that this particular store is filling. And I actually just manufactured a line of party supplies, a party supply set so that little girls can have a princess party with a princess that's Black, a princess that looks like them. So my store has been one of my favorite things that I've done. What's interesting, and I'm bringing this up as a marketing strategy, is because where people did not find my book, they may find my store. You know, people will find you in different ways. So you want to have as many touch points out there as possible. And that's one of my touch points.
Okay, so we're clearly going to pause here to go back into how you are supplying and warehousing things for your online store. So like give us the behind the scenes on that. How's that work?
Yeah, so okay. So my party supplies, for example, my party supplies are all in a warehouse. A couple of warehouses, but they're like in California, they're in Europe. And I ship them there and that's it. When I get an order.
And so then they do fulfillment and distribution for you. So you have warehouses that are doing fulfillment and distribution. Okay.
Yeah. Well, fulfillment, not distribution.
Okay.
They ship my orders to customers.
Okay. So they're just doing fulfillment for you. Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then for my t-shirts and things, I use print-on-demand companies like Printful. I use Printful.
Okay.
And they print your stuff. And they ship it to the customer. I don't have to deal with any stock.
You're like, there you go. Problem solved. All right. Do you have any other do you have any tips for people who are wanting? The thing that I love, I'm just gonna pause because the thing that I love about this is that like readers are not, it's not a closed market, right? So it's not like when you buy a house and then you know you're not going to be in the market to buy another house for like 10 years or
Mhm.
20.
Mhm.
Like people who buy books buy books. So then like it's not like, oh, they bought Crystal's book, now they're not ever gonna buy my book. It's not like that. Like there's
Mhm.
a lot open in there. So I just want to remind us and the universe that, like, you know, we're all like that, there's so much room for everybody. So I do appreciate like how open and candid you're being with everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, are
Absolutely.
there tips that you would give people who are thinking about wanting to use a print on demand service, like maybe Printful, or I know that Amazon has like a print on demand service for some of their
Mhm.
not just books, but like some of their merchandising stuff or whatever. Are there tips and things that you have learned from trying to find one that works for you that you'd pass on to other people?
No, I mean, I would just say don't overthink it. I think that we just tend to, for something that we're unfamiliar with, we get afraid to just do it. And that's how I started writing and publishing. I just did it. I didn't know what I was doing when I started my companies. So, bad experiences with anyone. I mean, for the print on demand, the only thing is making sure your customers know that your order will take, 7 days. Give them the let them know when to expect their order, because in this Amazon world that we're living in, people are expecting prime 2-day overnight
2 day.
shipping, and that's not going to happen. But I do use Amazon. Amazon's program is called Merch. I use that as well. Listen, anything I can do to make me money. I have stores all over.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, the print on demand, it's very simple. I would say that people may be a little bit hesitant to set their prices because, when you're printing on demand, it's not going to be as cheap as if you were to have a t-shirt press and you're printing the shirt yourself. You set your price at whatever you need to set your price at, and if people want it, they'll buy it.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool.
Do you take any merchandise to your events, or do you stick with just books at the events?
I take merchandise as well.
Cool.
That's another reason, the events are just a really big deal, because I basically set up an entire store when I do my expos at this point.
All right, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I totally derailed us in this conversation, but I remember where we were, which is that we were talking about online marketing. So then what else are you doing online? Are there particular strategies that you've talked about? You're essentially like word of mouth and like person-to-person strategies. Do you have other things that either have or haven't worked for you? Because we learn from both, you know what I mean? Like we learn from the things that work, but also the things that didn't too.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, I have done Facebook ads.
I was just about to say, do you do ads? You took it out of my mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, I only do it at this point around the holidays. And I feel like I don't like it as much. It's not one of my preferred strategies. And it's because the acquisition cost per customer exceeds the actual value of that customer, in my experience, because my books are not very expensive. So if my books are $10 in Facebook ads, and I just spent $100 around Facebook ads, and I got 15 clicks and I got 4 sales, which is actually way high, but 15 clicks and 4 sales, and 2 abandoned carts, you know what I mean? So I've only gotten 2 sales. It wasn't worth it. And that's kind of been my experience with the Facebook ads. The only way at this point for my books that I would run a Facebook ad is if I did a book bundle, so that I could get that value, the total value of the sale up. So I would basically put all of my books in a bundle and say, hey, get this package for $85. Then it would be more worth it to me. I do plan to do Facebook ads for my coaching services, but that's different because it's a higher ticket item. But I feel like for books, it's just not quite as gotten as much value from that. And I've taken, Facebook ads training, and I've learned how to do it. that great for me. What else do I do? I've kind of experimented with the what is it called? Kindle advertising, I guess, like the ads on Amazon.
Amazon, yeah. I think it's AMS, Amazon Marketing Services. That's what it is.
Yes. I experimented with that a little bit, and I think that has potential. I need to do more. I need to run a few more tests with that. I'll do that for the holiday season, because holiday season, that's when books fly off the shelves, the virtual shelves. So it's a good time for me to really see kind of what's working. So I've only kind of barely, dabbled my toe in that. So I can't say a lot about that. Trying to think of like what else people tend to do, so I can see if I've done it.
Newsletter swaps, free book giveaways, 99-cent books.
So I've done for free book giveaways. I did one huge giveaway, and I gave away a year's worth of children's books. For the most part, I don't like to personally do them, but I will do them when people approach me like, hey, I want to include your book in this giveaway. I'll do them then, but I don't know. I don't really like those. I just don't really like them.
It sounds to me like you, and not to offend anybody who's listening, though I probably will, but it sounds like you don't sort of like this, the salesy sort of tactics. Like, to me, it feels like, you're mostly about that really grounded approach to marketing, which is like not little things that work for a short period of time, the things that work long term and that you can sustain as the author and marketing guru that you are, rather than you've spent, 6 months learning Facebook ads. By the time you got them out there, Facebook ads were no longer the thing. And then, you're like, am I right?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Those are things that, to me, feel, I don't want to call them gimmicks, but it's just like you said, it's more of a short-term type thing, where you're getting a larger Instagram following. But I don't really like to do things where people are just doing stuff to get something for free, because people just like free stuff. And I don't want you following my page just to get my numbers up. I want like genuine followers who are actually interested in my products. Even when I talked about the expos, I prefer to do expos that are paid. I don't like to do expos that are free, because if you're paying $10 to get in, that means that you're going to be comfortable spending some money. You would presume that anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you give any of your books away for free? Do you give any of your books away for free? Like, do you do any of the perma-free that some people do, or are you like every single book is paid? Kindle version, like, is it paid?
Books for free where?
On any of the, like on Kindle, for example, like, is your ebook like a free ebook, or is everything paid? Like, obviously paperbacks are paid, but are your ebooks paid as well?
They are. I set up like Crystal's fan club, which I don't even know if this still operates, if this still works, but I set up Crystal's fan club, and it says like, subscribe, join my fan club and get a free ebook download. And I got like 5, people, it was just pointless, because I do get people that subscribe just normally, and I just don't, because my books are picture books, they're not chapter books. So I don't even really like the whole ebook thing, because I feel like you don't get the full experience of stuff. I really do a lot with my ebooks. My ebooks are kind of just like on autopilot. Oh wait, I've made some sales from this, but I don't really focus on them. I think that if I were to write, chapter books or adult novels, for example, I would be much more focused on, writing a series and giving out the first one for free. But for what I currently write, I don't really focus on them.
Great. Okay, cool. So do you have, I'm the person who says, We're almost out of time. And we are almost out of time. But I want to make sure, is there, Elena almost always has one more question, so I'll let her get fixed for that. But Crystal, is there advice? So we have the people who are listening to our show that we know of, like the people who kind of raise their hands and say that they're listening, are a real range of people, like people who are aspirational, like they know that they're an author and they're working to get their first book out. And then we have people who have been doing it for 20 plus years and have been full-time authors, and a mixture of traditional published and indie published and micropress and like everything that's in between in there, right? So what advice would you give to the authors that are listening to our show? If you could give them one piece of Crystal coaching.
Oh gosh, only one? Oh, one thing.
Oh, you can give more. You can give more. Let's go.
Okay, let me just see what flows. Let me just see what I can come up with. So, number one, I think it sounds weird, but it's totally been true for me, is to stop seeking perfection. As creatives, it will never be good enough. No version of your book will ever be good enough. It will never be finished. And when you operate in that way, you will never have a book, okay? Or you will never have a sequel. So, and this is something I had to learn. This is something my mom had to teach me, because I am that perfectionist or I should say I used to be. I had to let go of it, because I would have books that were just sitting around and I was like, I just don't feel ready to publish it. I think it maybe just missing a little something. I just don't know that it's ready. And she finally told me, like, Crystal, you can always release another version later. You know, publishers do that all the time. They release new versions, updates based on customer reviews and whatnot. And once I just published that book, nothing negative. Like, I've never had to go back and update or change this particular book. And that's been the case for all of them. One of the big secrets about Big Hair Don't Care, that book wasn't finished. That book still had a couple more pages left, okay? But I had to publish it because I had an expo coming up and I needed that book for that expo. So, and that book has taken off. So I would definitely say, just, you know, don't seek perfection, just make it really great, but it doesn't have to be perfect, and publish it. I mean, the biggest and the hardest part of all of this is just publishing it in the first place. And I think, you know, I've met a lot of people that, because I talk to a lot of authors, aspiring authors, and they're sitting on it, but it's their dream to publish a book, but they've been sitting on it. Because it's not until you publish that book that you actually get that confidence. You need to have outsiders, other people who are not your family, not your friends, who are just going to tell you it's good because they love you. You need to have other people read it and comment on it and give you their true opinion of it. And once you start to get that and you start to hear good things, it makes you confident enough, like, oh, this book was good enough. They actually love it. They think it's great. So that's my biggest piece of advice.
That was great. That was really great. Elena, do you have anything?
Well, that was going to be my last question. You took it.
Oh, you mean
that do I sound whiny? You know, there's this is a completely unrelated topic, and I'm very famous on this podcast for just veering off into unknown lands. But, you know, there was this funny post on YouTube or something where it was really inappropriate books for children. And one of them, sorry, I told you I was veering off. One of them was Monsters Eat Whiny Children. And I just thought of that then, because a monster will come and eat me because I was whining. And so my last question to Crystal is, this is true, monsters eat whiny children. Do you know, if my kids ever whine now, I'm like, that book was written for you. Monsters are coming. Oh dear. My very last question is, I feel like, you know, you've already done so much, Crystal, and, you know, in some ways you could just keep writing the wonderful books you've already written and be, you know, continuously reaching new markets. I mean, there's people overseas you haven't even touch to have big hair, and still really do care. So how do you come up with new ideas and then still keep the rest of your other books growing? That's my last question.
Well, you know, I do still think of myself as a gap filler. So I do still look and see what's out there, or rather what's not out there. So for example, you know, I'm a big brother and I'm a big sister. And the reason I did those books is because I feel like books on, I don't know what you call them, just themed books, thematic books about just growing up as a child and things that will happen. I feel like we don't have enough that have Black characters. So some of the books that I'm working on now are going to be similar to that. Other things, so the weird thing about me is that I develop my titles first, well before I ever write the book. So Big Hair Don't Care was Big Hair Don't Care before any words were written. I'm a Pretty Princess, that was the title, and then I wrote it from there. So that's just how I operate. So the title always comes to me first. So I have a couple of titles already in mind, and now I have to write the books.
Awesome. Terrific.
So that's
well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure we'll see great things from you still.
Even greater.
And of course, as you said, that you offer, you know, coaching for authors. So tell us a bit about where people can find your books, your coaching services, and everything else that you offer.
Okay, absolutely. So for listeners or viewers who love to shop on Amazon, you can type in booksbycrystal.com. That will take you directly to my authors page, and that's something that I suggest other authors do as well. Just as a strategy, it makes it a lot easier. So that's booksbycrystal.com will take you directly to my author page on Amazon, where you can purchase the books. You can also purchase the books and the matching merchandise at browngirlsclub.com. And then you can get more information about me, my coaching services, and my free consultation call that I give to aspiring authors at my website, which is crystalswainbates.com. No hyphen.
Right, very cool.
And that's it.
Well, we really, really appreciate it. I feel like we could talk to you forever. I hate having the job of being the timekeeper person.
Can we do this again? This was so fun. Like, I'm literally sitting on my floor.
I told you, it's family. We're family. Like, it's good. We absolutely can do it again, and we totally will, because we didn't even get into like how you set up strategy for your new books, which Elena totally had on our list that we pre-discussed before we got on the show. How you pre-developed your strategy for your new books based on lesson learned from your old books, but we've already hit an hour, so we definitely should have you on again if you're willing to come hang out with us again.
Absolutely.
We know the starting point for that conversation. So cool. All right. So if people are trying to get it, I can't be the person who does it because I always do it wrong when I say it out loud. If people are trying to get in touch with us or to be able to see the episode show notes, Elena, can you tell them where to go so I don't mess it up?
www.indiekidlitpodcast.com. And thank you again, Crystal. You've been an awesome guest. You're so bubbly and alive as an author. I can see how people meeting you in person makes them just want to take everything you've ever written home. Thank you so much. And yeah, definitely we want you on again. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, ladies.